back. This is Tia with Willow&Wheat, and we just painted our sleepy mouse in the last video. This video we're going to paint our pumpkin and the really cool textury background. If you want to paint the free mouse and you didn't see the video, please go back one video. If you want help drawing the mouse, he will be in your free pack that's in the description. You will also get this color palette that you see at the top called Sleepy Harvest. It's a limited muted tone color palette. Now let's get on to painting our sweet little pumpkin house. I'm going to choose this nice vibrant orangey yellow that's in the second row down, number 4 in from the left. Let's just make our little mousey invisible and get started. To be a little different, since this is a really textury kind of a painting and we're working with this dark and dreadful bleak collection, let's choose Unearthly, which is not your typical, you can see right away by looking at the brush shape, it's not going to be your typical drawing brush, but it is going to be fun. So I think we can maybe start at 5%. And if you don't have the dark and dreadful, you can use any drawing brush that you love. And I'm just kind of making a circular shape, but a little bit rounded, and I'm kind of bringing a spiral in toward the middle because I'm just wanting to show some texture there. It's just a little bit fun, and as the brush is titled Otherworldly. And so it's kind of like a cross between a square and a circle, an amorphic pumpkin. And now I just want that one layer just like that because I like the texture showing through. This brush, if I were to double it up like this, you're going to lose some of the appearance of the texture. So I still do want it to be opaque like we talked about in the last video, so I will double it, but underneath the underneath layer, I'm going to go ahead and bring the brightness all the way up. And let's see if that's nice and opaque. I'll just probably double that one a couple times just to make sure I have a nice opaque pumpkin because my background is going to be dark. So then I'll merge those two. And now let's do one more layer. And now let's choose the darkest color in our Sleepy Harvest collection. That's at the top, furthermost right. This really dark, almost black blue. And keep the size at 5, same brush. And we're just kind of creating a little whole burrowy type of a place for the mouse to exist. I think I want it a little smaller. I clicked on my arrow at the top left and I'm going to hit uniform because I like the shape of it. I just want it to be a little bit smaller. So since I'm satisfied with it the first time, which is very rare, trust me, I will go ahead and merge the layers, but you know what? Let me go ahead and hit my eraser at the top and hold it for a while so I can erase with the current brush I'm using. You can see the eraser. Because I actually, even though I'm really happy with the shape, I actually do want to kind of make at the top here a little bit of a U-dip just to emphasize the pumpkin shape. I don't like the little sections of the pumpkin, so I'll do a couple of those little U-dips. Or U-shape or arc shape, whatever you like. Okay, now I'm going to merge these two layers. I'm going to press the plus to add a new layer. And going to my color palette, I'm going to choose the dark brown that looks like it's number 6 on the bottom there. This one. And bring my brush down even smaller. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of subtly, very subtly, actually, let's bring the opacity down to like 70. and just very subtly suggest some pumpkin lines here. I don't want too much. I'm going to blend these because I just want the suggestion. Everybody knows it's a pumpkin by its, even though it's not a typical shape of a pumpkin, we know it's a pumpkin. I know my lines are outside the shape, but we'll address that in a moment. Because I'm going to do some blending with this to keep it subtle. And so if I go to the top again, on the right hand side, I long press that finger. I can blend with the brush I'm using, this very unusual spooky brush, and I'm just gonna kind of blend these in because, as I said, I want them to be subtle. So I'm just kind of working over the lines a little bit. All I'm doing is just basically running the blending brush over the lines we created, just to create a kind of a smeary effect. I think that's enough. So now I can long press on my eraser. So I'm going to be erasing with that brush to address these. Now I could have used a clipping mask for this, but a lot of times when I make very, very, very subtle lines, I don't like a clipping mask. I'll show you why. So, oh good, in this case it didn't, but sometimes it will cling to, well, I forgot we made it opaque so it wouldn't have done that, but sometimes it will cling to just only the marks without the white. Let me just blend this one a little bit more. Merging those layers. I merge the layers, and so now I'm pretty happy with that. Kind of looks like a grungy, funny, fuzzy pumpkin, and that's what I'm going for. So that's all on one layer. I'll just move it a little bit lower, and this is a square canvas, by the way. And put a layer above that, and choose my Burtonesque sketch pencil again. And let's keep the color we have for now. And let's go ahead and from the top of the pumpkin kind of make a curly little viney stem. And then we can bring it down a little bit right here to meet the grooves in the pumpkin. And let's work some texture right in by just lightly pressing on that same pencil and just kind of following the lines and making up your own way. Maybe you have some twists going on. We know that it's going to be darker here, so we can do a little bit more sketching under the arc, right there. A little more sketchy. And let's go ahead and grab another color, a little bit lighter, the last one on the bottom. So I got, I'm going to say it's a grayish beige, maybe. We'll work that in too. Add a little interest. I think I'll keep that one more toward the top where the moon is shining, and keep the darker shades more toward under the arc. So now I want to click on the pumpkin layer and add a layer underneath. And that way, anything that I draw underneath the stem, actually let's choose another dark color, this brown one in the second row, second from the last, this nice dark brown. Now it's gonna show underneath but not above. So let's do a nice sketchy layer with that. The fun thing about stems and branches is there's really no right and wrong, and there's so much fun texture in there. Nice and dark underneath the arc. I'm erasing it. Oopsies, I'm still on my old eraser. Let me go ahead and grab the erasing with my current brush. Should be erasing with the Burton-esque sketch pencil. Am I? No, well, let me choose it. There we go. That's so much better. Okay. So much better. A little bit here. So that's fun. Okay, I can merge these two layers, and I'm gonna put one more layer because I do want even more light on the top. So let me choose the lightest color. That's my first one in the color palette. And this time, let's make this layer a clipping mask so we don't even have to bother with erasing. I'll go 100% with the size and maybe 75% with the opacity. And I'll just add some extra light to the top of this stem there. Now, when I'm at it, I can go ahead and add that same light with a clipping mask to the top of the pumpkin itself, although we are definitely not done with shading this pumpkin. The shading is a lot of fun. Adding light can be a lot of fun. And I'm just kind of adding some light color to the plumpy parts of the pumpkin near the top, and also more toward the left side than the right, because that's where I'm imagining that the moonlight will be coming from. I can blend this by long pressing on my blender, my blending tool. Put that size all the way up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my layers at the top, the two squares, and I'm going to kind of reverse the layers. I want Mousy on top there. And he's nice and cozy in his pumpkin, but I want to make a little nest for him, so I'm going to go ahead and click an arrow to make a new layer above the pumpkin, which is underneath the mouse. And my color in the Sleepy Harvest collection is third from the left, this nice creamy wheat color. It's kind of like a more saturated wheaty color. And let's choose our brush. We can choose Dusk Spire. I like this one. This is a new one in the collection, which means that even if you have the old Dark and Dreadful collection without these new updated brushes, this one is free to you because I did update the brush collection to include some more. And I love Dusk Spire because it's got a really little soft effect to it. And all I did is kind of just wave it lightly around underneath the mouse. And I think let's see what size I used. I used about a size 8 for that. So now he's got his nice little snug nest. And I really like the way he's fitted into it. If you don't like the fit, you can go ahead and click on your Mousy and move him and resize. Bigger, smaller, whatever you like. Just position him in there how you like. And when you're ready, you can merge his layer with the nest. And let's go ahead and get started on our background. Our background is going to be a lot of fun because this collection offers so many textures. So let's go ahead and choose our background color. I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to put it underneath the pumpkin because it is a background. And let's go ahead and choose, why don't we go ahead and start with like a lighter, I wonder if they call this one like an ecru. This one, it's fourth from the left on the top. And let's just go ahead and fill our background layer with that for now. It will not necessarily stay looking like that. As a matter of fact, it absolutely will not, because we're going to add so much texture and darken it quite a bit. And now that we are getting ready to do that, I see a problem we're going to need to correct. Now that I see, if we go back to our pumpkin layer, it looks kind of like it has a white outline. I think perhaps when we made it opaque, we maybe went a little bit too much and just kind of added a white background, which is really a good thing for the top and left side of the pumpkin where the light is coming from, but for the bottom and the right side of the pumpkin, let's get rid of that. So let me show you a quick fix on that before we do the background. Duplicate your pumpkin layer, and then one pumpkin layer, the top one, is going to be a clipping mask for the bottom one. So now I'm going to go to my blending tool here. That's the little finger at the top right hand corner, this one here. And let's go ahead and choose your Birch&S sketch pencil or your Procreate sketch pencil that you like as a blender. And all I'm going to do is just start moving the orange outward from the right. So I'm getting rid of that white line on the right side right now of the pumpkin, just by moving it outward to cover that extra layer of opacity that we created earlier. And on the bottom too, I'm kind of blending some of that orange, moving it outward. In this case now I'm at the bottom, so now I'm moving it downward. And now I'm going to head a little bit over to my bottom left and kind of just blend that out a little bit too. Probably stop right around here where I imagine that we will still have a nice white highlight, and I actually do like the look of that white highlight on the left side, and especially on the left upper side. And since I like that, I can merge the layers. But while I'm at it, let me add another layer and put another clipping mask. And sorry about switching all these colors. I didn't realize that that was going to happen, but at least it gives us the opportunity to do a troubleshoot, a really quick troubleshoot that you might encounter in your work. Let's go ahead now and choose on the bottom of your Sleepy Harvest this like a creamy coffee brown. And let's choose a shading brush. How about Ghastly? And this one, Ghastly size 5. And it is on a clipping mask, so I'm going to be working on the pumpkin to help add some shade there. So I'm going to be going from the bottom here, the bottom right side, add a little more shading. I'm just lightly running it over. And I'm going to pick up the brush and do another layer a little bit further away. Right now I'm not even coloring directly on the pumpkin. I'm actually coloring off of it, and it's some of the brushes just making its way on there. Picking up my hand, I'm going to do a third layer just to add some opacity and some dark layer of shading there. I can even do a tiny little bit over here too on the left. And now I'm going to pick up my hand again, move my brush size down a little bit to even a little bit more shading. Yeah, that's really cute. I like that. You know what? I might even tap the color, tap the value at the bottom, and even bring down the darkness a little bit of the color and just get some, almost a little bit of extreme shading, one more little bit there on the very bottom. So I like the look of that. So I'll go ahead and merge those layers. If I want to do some more shading on my pumpkin later, I absolutely can. But right now, let's go to the background. This is going to be a lot of fun because the background textures that we have here in this collection are so super fun. So let's go ahead and start with kind of building up just the idea of texture in the background. We have lots of choices. Let's go ahead and start with the creeping texture. And if you don't have this collection, you can either draw this or you can choose your favorite texture brush. And I am going to make a layer above my background and just start moving my hand back and forth, moving my brush back and forth just for my first layer of texture. And it is going to be a build-up, so it's not, I don't necessarily want to keep the opacity this dark. Let me tap on that creeping background and lower the opacity considerably, just a suggestion of something going on. So I like that opacity, so I'll merge it into my background. And I hit my plus sign again. And now I'm going to choose a different texture. I think this time, maybe the ominous texture. And I'll bring the size up to maybe 13. And again, I'm just going to work it a little bit. Starting at the bottom, that's going to be, in this case, we're starting at the bottom because ominous is a little bit of a darker feel to it. I'm kind of just bringing it lightly up the sides. I'm going to lift my hand and do some more as I work my way now back down. I'll lift and start again so I can just kind of make a gradient there. Lifting and starting again, a little bit lower, lifting and bringing the brush down again. And so my darkest is at the very bottom there. So that kind of has like a little bit of an eerie, creepy look, which I do like. Again, you can play with your opacity. You can lower the opacity. But this time, I think instead of lowering the opacity, I might want to change the blend mode. Sometimes I can get beautiful surprises by playing with these blend modes. And my artwork can become even more exciting than I was hoping for, when these blend modes can sometimes offer a look I wasn't even expecting. So this is the luminosity blend mode. I really like that one. I really like the pin light too. That's very pretty. There's a vivid light. It's a little bit, as it's described, a little bit more vibrant overlay. Linear burn and color burn. I think I like color burn, and I just lowered the opacity to, let's say, 69-ish. I think I really like that one. So since I love it, I'm gonna now merge that texture layer with the background and add a new texture layer. The reason I keep adding new layers to do the texture There's actually two reasons. Number one, this way, if I do make don't necessarily need to call it a mistake, but if I do change my mind about a texture, it's much easier. Excuse the train, my office is near a train station, but it's much easier to correct. But also because then I get to play around with blend modes that aren't available to me if I work directly on the canvas. So now I chose the malice texture. Let's bring it to about 12. And again, starting from the bottom. And a bit here and there. But you know, this one, let me go back. I think I want to, since this one is such a dense texture, I think I'm going to bring the size up a bit. I might actually paint the whole canvas with this one. Yeah, I like that much better. I'm going to go over the whole canvas with that one, and I can bring down the opacity. I really like that. That opacity is at 68. I also want to play around with the blend modes. Sometimes color burn is a really fun blend mode. And that's linear burn, color burn, multiply. Wow, in this case, I'm really liking multiply. Okay, but let me just bring the opacity down a little more. So my opacity is at anywhere between 48 and 52%, and my blend mode was multiply. Now again, I'm gonna merge those two. And let's try one more layer for texture, one more for now. We can always go back. You know what, let's do the background element stamp. That's fun as well. So, background element stamp. Let's try one stamp. So this is kind of just a whimsical look, a fun look. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up repositioning my little curly cues here. I'm not sure if I want to rotate them or flip them, or even how they're going to be used at all. But it's there as an option, and it kind of does bring a little bit of a sense of whimsy. Definitely do need to lower the opacity because it, as I was saying before, I like it to be more of a suggestion rather than the focal point. So maybe this is 5960 opacity. I like that. I'm not ready to blend that layer though. I'm not ready to merge it with the background because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with this, these curly cues and these little whimsical shapes. So let me go back to my background, and I'm gonna add a plus here. I'm gonna make some, I'm gonna head down to my Fantasy Forest collection down here and kind of make some exactly what it says, like little fantasy foliage, like little areas of interest, something you wouldn't necessarily actually find in nature. This first one is called Blightberry, and I'll just go ahead and show you what this one looks like, and that's a smaller version, and I'll show you what the stamp looks like and how it can react as a larger brush. So that's just a demonstration of the brush, but I think I like it up here as like some sort of a canopy coverage. Kind of like get some random suggestions of organic life going on around this mousy. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit my arrow and kind of make it a little bit bigger and move it just up and to the right, because I really just want the faintest suggestion of this. If you're not happy with how that came out and you want to just do a new layer and just make a stamp like that, then you can kind of manipulate it and blend it into your picture that you have however you like. You can even duplicate the stamp, kind of move it, and of course play with the opacity until you have it with the look that you like. And I like that, so I'm going to merge those layers and create a new layer to start with a different brush. Let's work with the Fantasy Forest collection. So I'll show you quite quickly that curling cascade, since it is called Fantasy Forest, what it's basically about, like fantastical shapes that maybe even though they look a little bit organic, they would not be found in nature. That's just one little demonstration of curling cascade, which I kind of think is super cute. I'll lower the opacity and use it, even though I wasn't necessarily expecting to. Sometimes we have little surprises. And let's make a new layer. And, oh, gloom green. It's kind of like a weedy looking organic brush, and you can kind of use it as a straight line. You can use it as a curling, ferny type of a look. Same for Grimthorn. I love Nether Twig. That's one of my favorites. I love Nether Twig as, like, again, one of these canopy type of brushes. So we've got all kinds of organic material. We've got a combination of different looks, and what I really love about Nether Twig is that it works with whatever color you have chosen and adds a lot of harmonious colors to that, and that's a lot of fun. I think I'm going to keep the opacity of that one pretty high because I do love that. That might be one of my favorites. Okay, I merged that layer. I'm just building up all kinds of texture. Here's Overgrown. You're going to have to play around with the size. And again, it's a pressure sensitive brush. You can make a straight line. You can make more of a curling, like fern type of a thing. I'm just going to leave this over here, I think. It's just trying to achieve a little balance in the composition and add a new layer for my next one. Maybe my next one will have a little bit of a curl to it. It is a pressure sensitive brush. You can move these around and play with them. And why don't we do one more? Maybe right around here. That looks very sweet. So let's go ahead and merge all of our Overgrown brushes onto one layer. And we can play with blending mode again. Which one do we like? Oh, I like that the overlay is giving some unexpected color. That's a lot of fun. I think I really do like that. Let me see how I would like the opacity. A little bit lower. No, for that I definitely like the full the full opacity. Okay, let me merge those layers. And let's just try one more brush, maybe a Vile Vine, one of your viney ones. Again, pressure sensitive. Position it wherever you like. You can even bring it up higher than the pumpkin and kind of like put it a little in front if you prefer that. Actually, I think I do prefer that. And you know what? Let's do something similar on this side. It's a little bit of a little vine over there too. I do want to move this vine over a bit. And maybe even make it a little bit smaller. Do I like it here? No, I definitely like it here. But maybe just not as big. You know, you can also use the option at the bottom, which is called warp, and kind of help you manipulate and arrange it how you like. So I think that's really cute. But what if I colored something and I want to change the color? Like, for instance, as I look at these vines that are in front of the pumpkin, what if I'd rather have them be one of these greens? I can long press on that olive green. I can put a new layer above my vines. I can fill, after I put a clipping mask down toward the vines, I can fill the layer and change my color. And here's something really cool. You can even minimize the opacity of the olive green that you chose, or whatever color you chose, and kind of blend it. There's the full brown, there's the full olive green, and maybe you like something in the middle, like that. So Procreate is just so fun that way. And even after you have blended that, then you still can choose your blending modes. It's just so much fun. You can play around with this for hours and hours. So I do really like that olive brown merged with olive green merged with a brown. But I want kind of like a gradient on these two fern-like ones. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my magic wand as I'm on the layer with the ferns, and I'm just going to kind of circle the bottom and up some of the sides. So I'm going to kind of go up the left of it, come down to the bottom, up the right of it, and come down, connect that shape. Now at the very bottom, I can choose feather, and that's going to make the gradient more gradual, so it's not an immediate change of color. I'm feathering it out, then I'm going to go to my top, hit the magic wand, hue, saturation, and brightness, and kind of bring it down just a tad. So now we're seeing a gradient, so it's a little bit darker at the bottom. And let's do it again. This time maybe we'll feather it a little bit more. So I'm just coming up the left of it, coming down, and both sides here, and feathering it out a little bit more this time. Magic wand at the top, hue, saturation, and brightness, and bringing the brightness down. So now we have a nice, more pleasing to the eye effect of like showing that it's darker on the bottom. While we're at it, let's make a shadow underneath the pumpkin. So let's go to our bottom layer, which is our textury background. Again, up to that magic squiggly magic wand, and I'm just going underneath the pumpkin, making random shape there, connecting it, and down to feather at the bottom, and pulling my feathering out, let's say 25%, back up. Hue, saturation, and brightness is coming down a little bit just to give the appearance of a shadow underneath the pumpkin. So here's our composition, but I'm not done yet because I want to add some stars or something in the sky that's exciting. So let's take a look at our brush set, and let's go ahead and add Let's use our glow brush. Even though it has a little bit of a fuzziness to it, I really love it. And you can, believe it or not, still stay on the same color. But let's go a layer above your background. And we can sketch out a really whimsical moon shape. If you like a circle for your moon, this is gonna actually become glowier and glowier the more you press on it. If you don't care for that kind of unrealistic, almost like a holographic moon look, you can just go ahead and, excuse me, blur that. So you would hit Gaussian blur and then bring that up to the point that you did like the way the moon looked. Now, if you like a full moon, you can just go ahead and keep it. You can resize it. You can reshape it. Reposition it somewhere on your canvas. I think I would like a crescent moon though. So let's see, maybe I would want it here. And I think I'd like a crescent moon. So let me go ahead and long press on my eraser. And my eraser is size 20, let's say it's size 18. And full opacity for now, and just kind of erase back some of that moon. Going a little bit smaller. Erasing back some of that moon. And a little bit smaller. So fun. Pardon me. Can, again, like as I was saying before, you can move it around. You can duplicate it if you want it to appear even a little bit brighter. And how about a star too? Kind of bring my size down quite a bit. Just a traditional 5-point star. Position that wherever I want it. Pardon me, I seem to have gotten something in my throat. I'm duplicating the stars and putting them in little strategic areas. So as it turns out, I really did end up liking this stampy background. It's just for interest. But now's the chance that I can go up to that stamp and select some of the elements within that stamp and move them around, like for instance this one. Can make it a little bit bigger, like right here. Maybe just to add a little curiosity, so that curly Q can go right in there, and I can grab this other one with my selection tool and move it wherever I want this, or if I decide I didn't want it, we can do that too. And I think I like it right there. And let's add a little bit of spookiness in the form of a bat or two. I know a lot of little kids in my life who love a touch of spookiness. Sorry again. A bat is pretty easy to draw, especially one from afar. So let's choose Spidery Thin Liner. And in our color palette, our darkest color on the top all the way to the right. And I have, you know what, let's just make a layer, the very top layer, and let's start working on a bat. Just to begin, it's super easy. We can make a little oval shape like this, coloring it in, moving my size down, and kind of make a cat-like ear over here and another cat-like ear over there. That part's so easy. And now from the center, I'm going to just draw kind of like a curvy line like that. And then I'm just going to make one curve, two curves, three curves, and back. So let's do it again on the other side, but reversed. One big curvy line, then one curve, two curves, three curves, and back. And that was easy. You know what? Let me long press on my eraser. I think I want to change the bottom of my bat body a little bit. I just want to taper it off to look a little bit more triangular. And just because for some reason I have it in my head that looks a little bit scarier. So here's my funny little bat. My spooky little bat. And let's make him bigger. I want to feature him a little bit. He can be bigger. And you decide where you want him. Maybe you want more than one. If you want more than one, you can draw another one or just duplicate your layer. Maybe this next one will be a little bit smaller. You can maybe do one more on the other side. This one's going to be harder to see, but I bet you if you have a child in your life, they will be able to find him immediately. So a lot of kids just absolutely love slightly spooky things. And there you have it. I had so much fun drawing this cozy little picture with you from a collection called Dark and Dreadful. So much fun. I hope you had as much fun as I did.